podcast, archive podcast, and transcripts of some of our favorite segments each day. Find it at robkendallshow.com. Speaking of robkendallshow.com, as well as at Rob M. Kendall on Twitter, you can find the link pinned right to the top there of where you can get your podcast of The Rob Kendall Show. All the platforms, Apple, Spotify, they're all available at robkendallshow.com, as well as at Rob M. Kendall on Twitter. If you can't watch us live, you can get us on demand. So the big news came out yesterday, and look, it is time to just say it very directly. The Indiana Republican Party are a bunch of financial predators, and it's time for Chris Hansen to tell Mike Braun and the General Assembly to have a seat because we want to know what they came here to do. We have talked about this for years, that the taxes are bad enough. But in the case of the Republicans that run the state of Indiana, they have deliberately targeted taxes, one, that people can't opt out of, and two, that hurt us the most. And what I'm talking about, if you look at the taxes that have hurt people in this state the most and have gone up the most over the past decade, it's property taxes and fuel taxes. And yesterday, in terms of being able to drive your car on a prominent interstate across the state of Indiana, Mike Braun announced another blow that is coming to us in the state of Indiana with his announcement that he plans to toll, or is asking the federal government to toll, the entire stretch of I-70 across the entire state of Indiana. Not just part of it, the entire state, 156 miles. Now, we're going to use the information from the Indiana Capitol Chronicle. Whole bunch of other news media outlets have covered this now if you want to read the details for yourself. Here's what we know right now. First of all, before we do that, let's go back in the time machine. Last year, you guys may recall that the Indiana General Assembly ceded all authority on tolling to the governor. They gave away their ability to have any voice in tolling. Does that make any sense? The answer is of course not. The only reason you would do that is if you didn't want the heat for the decision. Gee, where have we seen that before? If you're thinking to yourself, 2020 and COVID, you're absolutely right. Why did the General Assembly never take on Eric Holcomb? Why did the General Assembly never speak up as businesses were being shut down, people were being put out of work, people were being forced to wear masks? The answer is because the General Assembly didn't want the heat that came with that decision. They didn't understand COVID. They didn't want to deal with it. And so they just said, well, it's fine to let Holcomb do it. He can take all the backlash. He can take all the ramifications. He can take all the anger. If Holcomb wants to put on his power pants, we're going to let him. And you're seeing the same thing going on with the General Assembly now with tolling, where they have given away their authority to have any pushback whatsoever, to have any say whatsoever, because they don't understand road funding. They don't understand how to fix it. They don't understand how to make it work. And they are fine to let the governor of the state of Indiana take all the heat on this because they don't want to deal with it. So in 2025, the General Assembly gave away their right to have any say on tolling, a total abdication of responsibility to you as a taxpayer. That is the purpose of the General Assembly, to make laws and provide oversight to the executive branch. Not cower in the corner, not run away when something gets hard. And time again, we have seen the General Assembly, when it's something tough, something they don't want to deal with, when it involves making hard choices, just give authority away to the governor and let him put the power pants on and take all the heat. At the time when the General Assembly gave away their authority to have oversight on tolling, they promised us, oh, this is years in the making. There's no immediate plans for tolling increases. We're just doing this in the future. It'll eliminate the red tape when that decision needs to be made. I remember, and I know many of you did at the time, said, that's bull. You guys wouldn't be doing this if there wasn't a plan to do it. If you didn't know in the immediate future this was going to happen, you wouldn't be giving away your authority to do it because you knew it was coming. You knew the plan to toll was coming, and you guys didn't want the heat on it. And they said, no. You guys don't understand. There's no plan. There's no plan. Once again, the Indiana General Assembly, the people who run our state, looked us in the eye and lied to us. They lie about everything. And almost as soon as they gave Braun that authority, he came out and said, we're going to come for tolling. Like within a week or two. I think it was like the Munster chamber lunch, I think was where it was at. I can't remember exactly the event, but he said in the event, he said, yeah, we're coming for tolling. After the General Assembly had just said there were no plans for tolling. So here's what we know about Braun's submission to the federal government. By the way, the only backstop on this now, the only check and balance is the federal government has to approve the plan. If the federal government says no, they can't do it. Here's what we know about the state's request from the Braun administration to the federal government. Tolling would be for the entire stretch of I-70, 156 miles. It would be 10 cents per mile for cars and SUVs. And there's no indication in their request from the federal government that a state resident would get any sort of discount. There's nothing that I saw in the documentation that said that. When they started talking about tolling initially, the General Assembly sold it to us as, well, when it does happen, we're going to target areas for people coming into our state. You know, these truck drivers from out of state, these people coming across the border. This plan is the entire state. So if you live in central Indiana and you depend on I-70 to get yourself to work, like if you work in Indianapolis or you live in Indianapolis and you work out in the suburbs, you're going to get hit with this tax increase. Again, in complete contrast to what many were led to believe was the purpose of tolling I-70 if it happened. So 10 cents per mile, all day, every day, apparently, on I-70, any stretch of I-70, if you're in a car or an SUV. If you're in a semi-truck, gets worse. Semi-trailer gets worse. 54 cents per mile. 54 cents per mile. So if you're in a car and you wanted to drive across I-70, it'd be $15.60 every time you do that, car and SUV. If you're in a semi-trailer, it'd be a whopping $84.24 every time you drive across the state of Indiana. Now, the state of Indiana says they're doing this because the gas tax revenue isn't keeping up with the construction costs. Interesting statement, given that just recently, legislation that has been signed into law by Governor Braun as part of the Bears Stadium bill would allow Indiana to take money from an existing toll road, 65, and use it for infrastructure for the Bears Stadium. So on one hand, we're told that there's enough money to take money from an existing toll road and use it for a stadium for a football team. But then we're told there's no money to do repairs to other roads to the point that we have to raise taxes by a whopping $6.5 billion. Let's call this I-70 plan what it is. It's a plan to raise taxes in the state of Indiana by $6.5 billion. The Republican governor of Indiana is going to raise taxes, if the federal government signs off on it, by $6.5 billion, and the Republican supermajorities in the Indiana House and the Indiana Senate have completely signed off on it by giving him the authority to do it, which they knew he was going to do immediately when they gave him the authority, and they lied to all of us about it. Now, what's going to happen as a result of this? Let's come back to what we talked about, the Republicans being predators. They are financial predators. The governor, the General Assembly, financial predators. If you drive into work downtown Indianapolis and you use 70 like I did for many years, you're getting hit with the tax increase for working. You're getting hit with the tax increase for having the audacity to go to work. This is what the Republicans did 9 years ago when they raised the gas tax. And, well, by the way, we'll get to the gas tax here in a second because there's total hypocrisy going on here with Braun because he's talking about suspending the gas tax. On one hand, no money for roads. We got to raise taxes by $6.5 billion on I-70. But then he's talking about suspending the gas tax. We'll talk about that here in a second. But almost 10 years ago, 9 years ago now, the Republicans raised taxes on gas by 10 cents per gallon and made it go up by 1 penny without debate or discussion every single year, which it has. And we'll give you the totals here on how much that has hurt you coming up in just a second. Why did they do that? The same reason they allow property taxes to skyrocket every year. You can't get out of it. You have to live somewhere. And if you have to live somewhere, you have to pay the tax on your home or your rental property. And by the way, my favorite argument is always, well, renters don't pay property taxes. No, renters pay a lot more in property taxes because those taxes on rental properties are capped at 2% as opposed to homes, which are capped at 1%. And landlords, not running a soup kitchen, they're passing that tax increase on to you in the form of your rent. So what was the primary tax they target? Property taxes. What's the second one? Fuel taxes, wheel taxes, tolling on roads now. Because if you want to eat, if you want to live, if you want to be a decent member and contribute to society, you have to go to work. It's not an accident that these are the taxes that have skyrocketed over the past 10 years. It has been deliberate, and it has been done by design. Now, let's talk about the ramifications of tolling all of I-70. People are going to just find other means of travel, other means of getting to their destination. Think about what that is going to do to 40. If you're someone going to Terre Haute and you can be charged $0 to be on 40, or you can be charged 10 cents a mile if you're in a car, or 54 cents a mile if you're in a semi-trailer, which one are you choosing? That's a long trip. That'd be what, 120-ish miles round trip? $12 every time you do it. A 40 gets you to Terre Haute the same way 70 does. The people are going to find alternate routes of travel, and that will be true all over our state, which means damage to new roads that will then need to be fixed and will have to raise taxes somewhere else. Local communities going to see their roads, places like Brazil, totally destroyed. How are they going to pay for that? Who's going to help them with that? The heart of their city, the heart of their towns, totally destroyed. People are going to find a way around this. They're not just going to pay the tax. And then we are all going to end up paying for this. And the communities that are going to get damaged are going to pay for this. And the state will just raise taxes somewhere else. Oh, and by the way, there's nothing I see in this proposal that says this has to be used for I-70. Now, maybe there will be. Maybe I've just missed it. But certainly we've seen how quickly things can change. Look at how the legislature just proposed, oh, let's take that 65 tolling money and let's use it for the Bears Stadium. Could we potentially see I-70 tolling go for stuff other than I-70? Like, the Mid-States Corridor down there in southwest Indiana? How is it possible? How is it possible that there's no money for I-70 without raising taxes by $6.5 billion, but the state believes it can come up with upwards of $4 billion for a brand new road? A brand new road. Oh, and who would that road benefit, by the way? That plan to connect 64 to 69? Oh, the trucking and distribution industry. Who's in the trucking and distribution industry? Who made his money in the trucking and distribution industry? Mike Braun. $6.5 billion needed to properly fix I-70. No money for that. But the states, or they were until Rob Kendall got a hold of it and producer Jason. They were chugging right along with that plan on the Mid-States Corridor. Billions of dollars for that, all good. No money for I-70. All of these taxes are a colossal scam. All of these taxes are designed to punish you, and they benefit someone else. Who's going to get rich off this? The construction companies. Who gives to the politicians? The construction companies. It is never going to stop. These people, the Republicans, because there's no one else to blame. The Republicans are the ones in charge. They voted to give the governor unlimited tolling capacity. The Republican governor is the one who sprinted to the federal government to try to get it. You can blame the Democrats for a lot of things, but this, just like every other tax in this state right now, the property taxes, the wheel taxes, all of it, the sales tax, it all rests on the Republicans. They are in charge. This will never stop. And unfortunately, until the Democrats get their act together and start running normal people talking about mainstream issues as their tippy-top things like this, instead of on-demand abortion or trans rights for kids, the Republicans are going to keep winning. Until the Democrats are willing to, as a party, in one voice, make kitchen table economics, kitchen table issues, pocketbooks of the people of Indiana, their front and, quite frankly, only issue, with viable plans on how to fix it, to fix the Republicans' mess, the Republicans will keep winning. And as long as the Republicans don't fear the Democrats, they will keep doing stuff like this. All right, let me tell you about our fine folks at Vent Savvy. By the way, before we do that, both Vent Savvy, the folks at Vent Savvy, and Bramwell Mackay reached out to me yesterday. They said, your audience is amazing. They can't believe the amount of calls and emails and contacts on the website they've been getting from you guys. And that's exactly what we need. We need you to support the people who are helping us. And sometimes you don't even need the service right now. One of our sponsors yesterday said, man, I got several calls from people who said, hey, don't even need you right now, but I'm going to use you when I do need you. That resonates just the same. So you guys have been phenomenal with this. Please keep doing it. I just can't stress the importance of this enough to contact these people, even if you don't need what they're offering right now. Let them know you heard the message and let them know you're going to use them when you need the service. That works great too. Let me tell you about our friends at Vent Savvy. You know, most people think a bathroom fan is just about cleaning the mirror. It's not. It's about what you and your family are breathing. When steam hangs in the air after a shower, that moisture soaks into drywall and ceilings. That's how mold starts. And you won't always see it until there's a problem, a real problem. Poor ventilation can affect air quality throughout your home. You should call Vent Savvy. They specialize in properly upgrading and venting bathroom exhaust fans so moisture leaves the house, not lingers in it. Visit ventsavvy.com. That's VENTSAVVY.com. And mention Rob for a free attic inspection. John, the owner of Vent Savvy, is a big fan of our show. He's a North Central grad. He's a Hoosier through and through. John will come to your house and take great care of you. Visit ventsavvy.com. That's VENTSAVVY.com. Or call 317-300-4434. That's 317-300-4434. And mention Rob for a free attic inspection. That's right. Totally free. The inspection will be totally free when you mention Rob. Thank you guys for supporting our sponsors. Please support the fine folks at Vent Savvy and let them know you heard about them on our show. Okay, coming up at 10:45, we have an incredible interview for you. Last week, all the talk was about Greg Ballard getting into the Secretary of State's race. Greg Ballard, former mayor of Indianapolis, running as an independent for Secretary of State in the state of Indiana. And there's a lot of questions about how did this all come together? Why is he leaving the Republican Party? Why is he running for Secretary of State? We are going to answer all of those questions for you coming up at 10:45. Nathan Gotch, formerly of Independent Indiana, now helping lead the Ballard campaign, is going to join us, and we're going to talk about these signatures. How are they going to get the almost 37,000 signatures necessary to get on the ballot? Do they have the financial backing to be a player? It's going to be a fascinating interview. You guys are going to love it. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, more hypocrisy from Mike Braun. He basically admitted yesterday, we don't even really need that gas tax, at a time where he's talking about raising taxes by $6.5 billion on tolling I-70. We'll give you the details when we come back. You're watching Rob Kendall Show.
Your bathroom fan could be secretly costing you thousands of dollars in damages. Most people don't even know this until the damage is done. With over 18 years of bathroom remodeling experience, here are 3 signs your fan is failing you without spending a dime on inspections. Sign number 1 is if you have foggy mirrors after you shower. This shows that your fan isn't pulling out enough moisture, which creates the perfect environment for mold. If you have a properly functioning bathroom fan that is the right size for your space, you shouldn't see much fogginess on your bathroom mirror at all. Sign number 2 is if you have bubbling, cracking, or peeling paint in your bathroom. This means moisture is soaking into your walls, slowly breaking down drywall, and even causing the wood framing behind it to rot. Sign number 3 is if you have mold buildup on your fan, ceilings, or walls. This is terrible for your health, but also could wreck your bathroom, costing you a fortune. If you're noticing any of these signs, here's what you can do.
Call Vent Savvy today at 317-300-4434. That's 317-300-4434, and mention Rob for a free attic inspection.
Are you a Clay County resident who is ready to be part of creating a brighter future for our citizens? Doug Cobb is running for county commissioner and will bring fresh perspective to the table. A local farm and business owner, he has skin in the game of our county's success. He knows that a great team can accomplish so much more than any one of us alone and is ready to create a brighter future for Clay County together. The committee to elect Doug Cobb approves this ad. Paid for by Linda Cheesem.
Bramwell Mackay assists managers of multifamily and commercial real estate properties with exterior and structural condition assessment and end-to-end building wellness. Your consulting partners for water intrusion inspection and remediation, Bramwell Mackay handles historic restoration and repair, as well as modern repair needs. In Indianapolis, call 812-33-BRICK. That's 812-33-BRICK. 812-33-BRICK.
Guys, welcome back. Rob Kendall Show. Find me on Twitter at Rob M. Kendall. Head over to robkendallshow.com. You can watch the broadcast live over there. We got the archive podcast, link to all the places you can get the podcast. And then we got the transcripts of the shows, some of our favorite segments from the shows. You can read if you're the reading type. Also, we have a support button there. Robert yesterday with a very generous donation. Thank you, Robert, for doing that. And many of you had said, hey, we love the show, don't own a business, don't run a business, just want to support the show. And so rather than, replying to everyone, we just said, hey, we'll just put this support button up there. You can give whatever amount you want, $1, $10, whatever. We're not begging you for money. If you don't, you simply watching us each day is more than enough. And we appreciate that. And we thank each of you for watching the Rob Kendall Show, but you can find that support button over at robkendallshow.com. Also, just a reminder, if you haven't, and I know it's a broken record, you guys have been phenomenal at this to start the first week and a half. We're essentially at 1,600 subscribers. You guys are amazing. We need to continue to raise those numbers to help us get the word out. Head over to YouTube, which you're obviously at right now because you're watching us live, but if you're listening on the podcast, head over to YouTube. Just put Rob Kendall Show in your browser there, your search bar, and just give us a quick subscribe. That helps immensely as we try to grow the program, grow the show, grow the live feed. And so again, basically, I know most of you watching us on YouTube have already done this, but if you are indeed just listening to us via podcast, Apple, Spotify, wherever it is, just head over right now. Do us a huge favor, hit the subscribe button. That will help us grow the program immensely. Okay, I want to talk about Braun and the gas tax here in just a moment. But before I do, I want to talk about this that came to my house the other day, because I get this all the time. And I'm going to hold this up. I know it's not zoomed in. I know you can't see it real well, but I'm just showing you what this is, what came to my house, and who I'm going to tell you about who paid for it and what it is. This is taxpayer propaganda from U.S. Congressman Jim Baird. It's known as Frank Mail. It is a magazine which is a glorified campaign ad that we are paying for. You want to know why we're $35 trillion in debt? Because we are forced to pay for crap like this. It is 4 pages, front and back, color, nicely printed, looks like a newspaper. And it is at the top of the header here, just in big letters, it's his picture, Congressman Jim Baird. I mean, it looks like a political ad. It's got his Twitter handle, his X, his Facebook handle, his website, and very clearly notes that this is paid for with taxpayer money. It's his official from his Congress, from his congressional office, paid for by official funds authorized by the House of Representatives. And this is nothing but garbage propaganda. It's just they're written like newspaper headlines, and then it's just these bills that he's voted on. Why are we doing this? Why are we allowing members of the United States Congress to spend all of this money to campaign? You know, we hit Diego Morales yesterday for using taxpayer money to film what essentially became a campaign video, which has now been forwarded to the Inspector General of the state of Indiana for an investigation by the Marion County Election Board. This should be investigated as well because it's just as bad. We have no money in this country. None. We're $35 trillion in debt. And yet, our representatives, and Jim Baird is one of the worst violators of this, are using your money. Well, they're actually using future generations' money. They're using my kids' money to send out propaganda pieces to get you to vote for them. And what a huge advantage he has over anyone running against him. Jim Baird has competition. Craig Haggard is a state rep from Indiana running against Jim Baird. And Jim Baird can use your money to send you propaganda pieces to try to influence your vote. This is disgusting. And it happens all over the place. I saw a billboard post the other day, I believe it was for Jefferson Shreve, who's a congressman from the eastern part of the state. Looks like a campaign billboard. But the wording is just right that he can legally use taxpayer funds. By the way, Jefferson Shreve is worth, what, hundreds of millions of dollars, maybe $1 billion? Can't he spend his own money to run a billboard? Which everybody knows what he's doing. Jefferson Shreve has competition, by the way, too. The system is totally rigged. And this stuff, it is gross. I have to pay for this. I don't have to tolerate it. So Jim Baird, just call me Sinead O'Connor. Yeah, Nancy Pelosi too, right? That's disgusting. You should be ashamed of yourself. Anybody voting for this, this is what you're voting for. This is why we're $35 trillion in debt. This is what the Republicans do. They promise to be better. They promise to be different. They promise to get campaign spending under control, and then they waste our money on crap like that. That in no way benefits anyone other than Jim Baird. Just like Diego Morales filming election workers in Marion County at the Marion County Election Center and then posting it to a public website and then using it for a campaign commercial, and then his excuse on why he shouldn't be in any trouble is, well, I made it available to the public. That doesn't benefit anyone but him. And this is what our elected officials do. They go into office and then they use our money and our resources to benefit themselves. If you're going to be pissed off about Diego Morales, which you should be equally pissed off at people like Jim Baird who do this. And I get stuff like that from him all the time. These guys try to paint themselves as good guys or good fiscal stewards or working on your behalf. Jim Baird is not. And this is not an endorsement of Craig Haggard, because I got major issues with him too. And I'm sure since we're getting into election season, we'll talk about those. Our slogan here is we dislike all of these people equally. And crap like this is why. How could any person in good faith say that the Republicans are being good stewards of our money when they're sending out stuff like this? I get the Democrats do it too. The difference is the Democrats don't promise me to be better. They don't promise me to be different. Every time they run, they don't say, elect us, we'll get the spending under control. That is disgusting. And Jim Baird should be ashamed of himself. And if you vote for Jim Baird, that's what you're voting for. More of that, because that's what you're going to get. All right, let's talk about Braun and the gas tax. So just a reminder, I know we talked about it a little bit in our opening segment. In 2017, the Indiana Republican Party, because they controlled all of state government, majority in the House, majority in the Senate, Republican governor, enacted the largest tax increase in state history. And what they did is they raised the gas tax by 10 cents per gallon, and that gas tax automatically went up every single year. Without debate, without discussion, without having to prove the money was being used responsibly, without INDOT having to have any sense of accountability for it, it just automatically went up. At the time, we were told this is the only way to fund the roads. We've looked at it, top to bottom. There's no other way to do this. The Republican majorities in the House and Senate, Republican governor, told you there was no other way to fund your roads than raising your taxes, the largest tax increase in the history of our state. Boy, doesn't that sound familiar? Fast forward 9 years, what is the governor now trying to do with Republican supermajorities in the House and Senate who have signed off on it by abdicating their responsibility and giving it all to the governor? Mike Braun is proposing $6.5 billion in new taxes on I-70 because there's no other way. Well, of course, there was a way to siphon money off the existing toll road in 65 to help the Bears build a stadium. There's somehow supposedly $4 billion-ish laying around to do the Mid-States corridor, which would benefit Mike Braun's business. But no money to help you on the road you use without raising your taxes by $6.5 billion. Over time, let me lay out how much you're actually paying in taxes on gas, shall we? You're currently paying, now this was as of July 2025, and I'll tell you why I used July of 2025 here in just a moment. But as of July 2025, well, and one other thing I need to clarify, we actually have two taxes on gas in the state of Indiana. There is a special gas tax just for gas, and then you pay sales tax on the gas. Did you guys know this? Two taxes on gas. You know, usually if you're using gas, you're doing things like going to work, getting your kids to school, going to the grocery store. We come back to that whole Republicans are financial predators thing. Why did they target gas? Because you need it to live. Why did they target property taxes? Because you need it to live. They're doing this deliberately. They're coming after you and trying to hurt you on things you need the most. Because it's not about helping you. It's about helping them. Them being the government. Them being the Republicans and funding their government and their big government, and they want to go after things that you absolutely need so that you can't find a way around it. So in the state of Indiana, as of July 2025, we had 54.50 cents per gallon tax just on gas. So every gallon of gas you buy, 54.50 cents of that goes just to the Republicans' special tax on gas. 36 cents of that is the excise tax, the special tax on gas, and then 17.5 cents of that is the sales tax on gas. Put them together, you get 54.50 cents. So think about this, and the reason I chose July of 2025 is that your actual tax on gas is different every single month. It's different. Do you know anything else where the tax is different every single month? The reason the tax is different every single month is because the sales tax changes based on the price of gas. Think about this. The government in Indiana makes more money based on you paying more for gas. The government has set up a system where they are cheering for you to have to pay more for gas. So as the price of gas goes up, your sales tax increases. Double whammy, right? Then on top of that, you have, and I think it's 18.4 cents. 18.4 cents per gallon federal gas tax. You put all of those together, you get 72.9 cents. Because we also have, did you guys know this? And nobody ever talks about this, a 1 cent oil inspection fee on every gallon of gas. What the hell is an oil inspection fee? So your 54.50 cents per gallon is a 36-cent excise tax, 17.5 cent sales tax, 18.4 cents federal tax, and a 1 cent oil inspection fee. You put them together, 72.9 cents. 72.9 cents of every gallon of gas you buy. By the way, if you want to see the deep dive on this, Wish TV had a phenomenal piece on this where they went through a whole bunch more stuff than what I'm laying out to you here now. Wish TV had the story. 72.9 cents per gallon goes to taxes. Think about how cheap your gas would be if you didn't have to pay that. So all of this being said, in 2017, we were told there was no other way to fund the roads without the largest tax increase in the history of our state. Massive increase in the gas tax that goes up every year. However, Braun, the governor of Indiana, Mike Braun, slipped up yesterday and kind of let you know that's just a giant load of crap. Because he came out yesterday and said, according to Wish TV, well, if this war with Iran keeps going and the gas prices keep going up, I'll consider suspending the gas tax. Wait a second. I thought the gas tax was the vital, most important way we funded our roads, and that there was no other way to do it without the largest tax increase in the history of our state. And then without the gas tax, as bad as our roads are now, oh, you don't even want to fathom what they'd be. Yet, like that, Braun comes out and goes, well, gas is getting really expensive. If it gets any more expensive for a sustained period of time, I'll consider suspending the gas tax. These two things cannot be true, that the governor can just lickety-split suspend the gas tax if gas gets, and I'm using my words here, too expensive, and then also claim that the gas tax is the only way that we're even able to drive on roads. At a time where you're also saying we're so broke when it comes to funding our roads that you need $6.5 billion in new taxes for I-70. What Braun slipped up with here, and this is because Braun craves acceptance. Braun craves acceptance, and he's totally subservient to Trump. See the redistricting battle and how badly that went for him when he knew that's how it was going to go, or at least he should have. Why did he do it? Because he was being subservient to Trump, not listening to the people of Indiana. Braun is subservient to Trump, so he's probably getting pressure already from the White House going, hey, you governors, you supportive governors got to do something if the gas continues to go up to help me out. And what was his initial response? Well, internally, at least or what he's relaying to you is, oh, yeah, if we get rid of the gas tax, that'll really help you people out. No kidding. That's what some of us have been screaming about for a decade now. The gas tax is a giant scam. And it, just like the property tax, is a predatory tax that targets you for trying to be a contributor to society, for trying to raise your kids. 72.9 cents of every gallon of gas goes to the government. By the way, as bad as the tax on gas is, 54.5 cents between the excise tax and the sales tax as of 2025, July of 2025. And by the way, July 1st is the day it goes up every year. Diesel's even worse. 62 cents per gallon for diesel. Almost 8 cents, 7.5 cents above what the gas tax is. This whole thing is rotten. You are getting screwed. And Braun just admitted to you yesterday that it is totally unnecessary. Hey, let me tell you about our friends at Bramwell Mackay. These guys are awesome. Leaky chimney, water in the basement, cracks around the exterior of your home. Bramwell Mackay Property Services and Consultants is your authority for chimney repair, tuck pointing, foundation repair, crawl space to basement conversions, basement waterproofing, and more. Bramwell Mackay doesn't offer quick patches. Their team of 40-year master masons and industry experts address the root cause and provide solutions that last lifetimes. Your home is one of your biggest investments. Treat it that way. Bramwell Mackay, your masonry, foundation, and chimney specialists. You can find them on the web at bramwellmackay.com. That's BRAMWELLMCKAY.com. All right, couple of programming notes here real quick. Many of you doing a fabulous job, as always, chatting in the YouTube chat. We appreciate you guys. You know the rules. You got to be a subscriber in order to chat. And you have to behave yourself, which so far, Jason and I were talking about this yesterday. We've been very impressed with how well everyone is behaving themselves, what good citizens you've all been. And so as a reward for all of that, to be a subscriber and behave yourself, Jason is going to be reading some of his favorite chats throughout the day. He's taking mental notes, screenshotting. So a little bit later on in the program, we're going to read some of his favorite chats throughout the course of the program. Okay, we're going to take another quick break. When we come back, don't go anywhere. This is going to be a fascinating conversation. Nathan Gotsch, many of you longtime listeners remember him. He's a regular guest on the old show. Well, regular guest. He was on a couple times on the old show. He was with a group called Independent Indiana, and they are a group dedicated to getting independent candidates elected throughout the state. They did several polls last year that we talked about, including the ones on redistricting, on some of our statewide office holders, Braun, Diego. And now he has left Independent Indiana. He is helping run the Greg Ballard campaign for Secretary of State. So Nathan's going to join us next. I'm going to ask him all the interesting questions. What caused Greg Ballard to run for Secretary of State? Why did he decide to pull the trigger? Why is he running as an independent? And probably the most important question of all, how is he going to raise the money and put the infrastructure together to get those 37,000 signatures necessary to get on the ballot in just a couple of months? Fascinating interview. We'll see it next. You're watching Rob Kendall Show.
Your bathroom fan could be secretly costing you thousands of dollars in damages. Most people don't even know this until the damage is done. With over 18 years of bathroom remodeling experience, here are 3 signs your fan is failing you without spending a dime on inspections. Sign number 1 is if you have foggy mirrors after you shower. This shows that your fan isn't pulling out enough moisture, which creates the perfect environment for mold. If you have a properly functioning bathroom fan that is the right size for your space, you shouldn't see much fogginess on your bathroom mirror at all. Sign number 2 is if you have bubbling, cracking, or peeling paint in your bathroom. This means moisture is soaking into your walls, slowly breaking down drywall, and even causing the wood framing behind it to rot. Sign number 3 is if you have mold buildup on your fan, ceilings, or walls. This is terrible for your health, but also could wreck your bathroom, costing you a fortune. If you're noticing any of these signs, here's what you can do.
Call Vent Savvy today at 317-300-4434. That's 317-300-4434. And mention Rob for a free attic inspection.
Are you a Clay County resident who is ready to be part of creating a brighter future for our citizens? Doug Cobb is running for county commissioner and will bring fresh perspective to the table. A local farm and business owner, he has skin in the game of our county's success. He knows that a great team can accomplish so much more than any one of us alone and is ready to create a brighter future for Clay County together. The committee to elect Doug Cobb approves this ad. Paid for by Linda Cheatham.
Bramwell Mackay assists managers of multifamily and commercial real estate properties with exterior and structural condition assessment and end-to-end building wellness. Your consulting partners for water intrusion inspection and remediation, Bramwell Mackay handles historic restoration and repair, as well as modern repair needs. In Indianapolis, call 812-33-BRICK. That's 812-33-BRICK. 812-33-BRICK.
So how do you totally change the political system in Indiana? Our next guest is trying to make that happen. It's Rob Kendall Show. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget, follow along, robkendallshow.com. Joined by our old pal, Nathan Gotsch. He is formerly of Independent Indiana, now an advisor to the Greg Ballard campaign. Greg Ballard, of course, running as an independent, or trying to run as an independent for Secretary of State in the state of Indiana. Let's get the whole story. How did this all come together? And most importantly, how do you get on the ballot? There's a lot of talk about this. We've never really had a legitimate independent candidate, like a front runner type person, run as an independent in the state of Indiana. I got so many questions. Nathan Gotsch, hello.
Thanks for having me, Rob. Great to be here.
Okay, so I got to start with this. You know, we had you on the old radio show back in the fall. You came on with the big poll on redistricting, and I got to bust your chops a little bit. You held this little nugget back about the poll that showed Ballard very competitive with Bo Bai and Diego Morales. I think we got some trust issues going on here. Why did you guys sit on this for that long?
Well, first of all, Rob, I'm flattered that you feel like our relationship is at a point where we need to talk about and work through some of our issues.
Yeah.
So, and look, as you mentioned, I came on when you were with WIBC. Now you're an independent. I think a lot of people are independents now. More and more people this year are becoming independents. I think you're riding that wave, so I commend you on that.
Thank you.
So let me talk through sort of where the polling was, how this all sort of played out. We formed Independent Indiana last year. We launched it in September, and it was because we saw these independents winning all around the state. And this is, what I talked about on the air.
You talked about at a local level, right?
Right. So what we see is in the last two cycles, a huge number of independents running and a very significant number of them winning. So 244 independents got on the ballot for partisan races in 23 and 24, and 52% of them won. So the ones that are winning, it's mayors, city council, town council, clerk, treasurer, but people were also running for state legislature, a couple for countywide races, a few for Congress. And of those who ran and lost, nearly a third got between 30 and 49% of the vote. And so we saw those numbers and we thought, okay, well, we see success at the local level. Is that a sign that there's an appetite out there for something different? And so when we formed Independent Indiana, we wanted to do a real rigorous study on that. And that included polling. And that polling was done right around the time that redistricting was a big issue. And so the first part of the poll that we released was around the redistricting question. And what we found is that it wasn't popular with voters. That's what the legislators also were hearing, in their calls and in the texts and in the emails.
Well, remember this. They tried to say, well, their poll is BS. And you guys were saying, well, wait a second. We use a Republican-based polling firm to do this poll.
What was really interesting is the only numbers that the pro-redistricting side were talking about were how Republicans felt about redistricting. They weren't even talking about the overall numbers. It was almost as if you're not a Republican voter, you don't matter to them. Your opinion doesn't matter. And the reality is that as our election system is currently constituted, Republican voters who decide who wins Republican primaries do have an outside influence in how our state is run. And that's actually part of the problem. A lot of people don't realize that only 13% of Indiana's registered voters vote in Republican primaries. And look, I don't care which 13% you picked. If you grabbed at random 13% of Hoosiers and said, hey, you get to be in charge of who's leading our state and what their priorities are, that's going to be a bad deal.
Right.
And so that's part of the issue. But so we polled, we asked a question on redistricting. We asked how people identify right now. 41% said they were independents. Only 29% said Republican. 21% said Democrat. And that was also really interesting.
Well, we talked about this yesterday. There was just a column in USA Today, and the guy wrote about how 80% of the people don't even participate in these primaries. And a big part of it is your polling, which is like these people go vote in the general elections because they feel an obligation, but they don't see themselves as either of these two bad choices they have to make.
Right. And when you have more Hoosiers saying I'm an independent than a Republican or Democrat, the problem is when they go to vote, they have to pick between a Republican or Democrat, and those Republicans or Democrats are chosen by the parties either through convention or through their primaries. And so there's this inefficiency is sort of a mild word for what we have right now. Our system of government was not designed to work like this, but because so much of how elections work is left up to our elected officials, they have been able to sort of graft a bunch of things onto the system, different rules, different laws. And a lot of people don't realize that you can't even run as a Republican or a Democrat in this state if you don't have the right primary voting record. And
That's right.
Our calculations very conservatively say 4 out of 5 Hoosier voters would not qualify right now to run as either a Republican or a Democrat, and 100% of them wouldn't qualify to run as both. So you have to pick according to how you're voting in primaries, and you have to know 4, sometimes 6 years in advance which party you would want to run in the future, because you have to get the right primary votes to qualify. It's just crazy, and this is not how our founding fathers designed our system of government.
And everybody has to pay for it. That's what makes me mad. You can't participate, you can't run, but they take your money.
In terms of us paying for the primary elections,
right.
that they that benefit them. I definitely think that is a taxpayer expense that I would love for our General Assembly to look at. I don't think that that's going to happen anytime soon, but I agree with you.
Nathan Gotsch, formerly of Independent Indiana, now an advisor to the Greg Ballard campaign, is with us. Okay, I want to get to the signatures and how all that works.
Yeah.
But the poll. Greg Ballard's a really random name to like throw out there.
So we were polling for the study, and one of the questions we asked in the study is, how likely would you be to vote for an independent candidate if you thought they had a viable chance to win and matched you on most issues? And that number was shockingly high. So over 80% of Hoosier voters said they would be likely to vote for that candidate, including 59% saying very likely. That also includes over 80% of Republicans. So we saw those numbers and we thought, oh, wow, there's really something here. It's not just about local races. But as you know, when you poll something generically, that sometimes gives you different results than when you put some names on that. So we said, okay, well, let's test a couple names. Secretary of State's going to be the big race in 2026, and let's see if that matches with what the sort of generic numbers say. And so we pulled a couple different names, and I just happened to be reading Mayor Ballard's book that he released
so
last year.
So he didn't come to you and was like, "Man, I'm thinking about running."
No, it's not that at all. So we tested several names, and then his name, I mean, people have seen the numbers, right? He was at almost 24%. Diego Morales 28.5%, and Boba I think was around 31%. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is like, he could win this, right? That's how high these numbers are. And you also have to think about this when people are getting this poll. You know, people assume that independents can't win. So those are people who, even though the stigma with independent candidates is, well, they can't win, they still said, I would support him.
Yeah.
And so once you have to think, like, once people know that it's viable, I would imagine those numbers would go even higher.
So do you go to him and go, hey, look at this? Like, how does that work?
So we reached out to people connected with him and said, hey, I mean, do you think he would consider doing this? And eventually there were conversations that were had, and we expressed, like, look, we think you'd be very viable. The important piece here to remember in terms of why we didn't put those numbers out is because that polling was so good that we thought, well, if we release this with our study, that's going to be the headline, and everyone's going to be calling him up and either telling him to do it or telling him not to. And so there were just private conversations that were happening behind the scenes, again, encouraging him to consider this. And then the reason we put the numbers up when we did is there were some people reporting that he was considering this. And so it was a lot of conversation and it was public. And it's like, okay, well, if people are going to talk about this, they should at least know these numbers showing that he is very viable in this race.
It was brilliant marketing. I don't know if you intended to do it that way, but you guys got all that publicity twice. The poll basically recycled itself twice. And so it was brilliant marketing. I don't know if they thank you for that or who, but it was well done.
You know, there are a lot of smart people involved in this, and, the credit should be shared among all those people. But I do think that it played out in a way that when he did announce his campaign on Wednesday, people already knew that this was a viable candidacy.
Nathan Gotsch from Independent Indiana, formerly of Independent Indiana, is our guest. He's now an advisor to the Ballard campaign. Okay, so let's talk about the signatures.
Yes.
Explain to people, we've talked about it here before, but just very high level, how this works since there's no nominating convention for an independent candidate.
Correct. So, look, for your listeners and for your viewers, there's no reason why they should know how this works, right? Because why would you ever need to know what the rules are for independents? The reality is the reason that the Republican and Democratic parties have been so dominant in part is because they control ballot access.
That's
and they
right.
make it really hard to get on the ballot as an independent. They actually quadrupled the number of signatures you need back in 1980. And it was just because there was one pissed off state legislator whose friend had been challenged for mayor of Michigan City by an independent. His friend still won the race, but he's like, screw these guys. And so they quadrupled the requirement, and that was back when our population was lower. And so basically the way it works is whatever race you want to run in, you need to go back to the most recent Secretary of State race and see how many votes were cast for Secretary of State in whatever district it is that you want to run in. So if you're running for Congress in Indiana, it's around 5,000 signatures that you would need. For a statewide race, it is 36,943 verified signatures from registered voters in the state of Indiana in order to get on the ballot.
Okay, so you say registered voters, and I've had the great misfortune of having to get these signatures before for a U.S. Senate race. So this is it's a very daunting task.
Yes.
It sounds easy. You can't just hang out at the Walmart.
Well, you can, but you need to hang out at a lot of Walmarts.
Yeah.
So, and look, the other thing people don't realize is Republicans and Democrats running for Secretary of State, the number that they need to collect is a little bit lower. It's 0.
Yes, right.
So
Just you just have to give the party a bunch of money.
Yeah, and I think that's, I mean, whatever. They get to set their own rules.
Right.
But yeah, I guess you just pay.
For those who don't know, literally what we're talking about is in order to file for Secretary of State, you pay a percentage of whatever the job pays in order to run for that office.
To the party.
To the party, yes.
So the party basically says you can buy access onto the ballot. Right. If you're not part of the party, then you have to go out and collect signatures. And a lot of people don't know this, but you think, okay, how many signatures is 36,000? Well, Indiana has over 550 cities and towns.
That's right.
Only 23 have more population than 36,000.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's what we're talking about.
So like where I live in Brownsburg, I think the population is close to 35,000 now.
Mhm.
So literally you have to get more signatures than that entire town
Exactly.
to get him on the ballot.
Correct.
How do you do that?
You get one of these.
Well, tell us what you
sheets.
have. Yeah.
So we have these forms. It's from the state. And if people want to help collect signatures, you can go to gregballard.com/signatures.
Okay.
And that allows you to sign up. We'll email you the sheet. You have to print it off. Okay. It's a front and back sheet. And what you do is you go up to people, and I've gotten lots of signatures in the past because I've helped with some other independent candidates. You ask them, are you a registered voter?
Yeah.
And if they are, then they just sign on here. Then they print their name, date of birth, their residence. And the reason they have to put that information is because the county clerk will then go through the voter registration file, verify that they're a registered voter and that their signature matches, and then they will check it off. Yes, this is a valid signature.
Now, this is important. The opposition can challenge the signatures, correct?
They don't usually do that.
They're going to do that with you guys. Come on now.
Well, look, we're going to collect a lot more than 36,000. But yes, there is a process for people to challenge that. But what's important is if you're a registered voter, if your information matches your voter registration, you can go to indianavoters.com and just double check that. You know, sometimes people are registered under their maiden name. Maybe they moved and they can't remember if they're, and by the way, if you've moved, update your voter registration.
Right.
Go to indianavoters.com to do that. But you want to make sure that it matches. And on each of these sheets, you can collect up to 10 signatures. Now, because these are verified by the county clerks and the voter registration boards, these have to be specific to a county. So if you're collecting signatures from friends in the Indianapolis area, like you don't live in Marion County, right?
Right,
What county?
Hendricks County.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you can only have 2 different counties on each one of these sheets.
So you can mix and match, but only 2.
Only up to 2, because what happens is this form, once you fill it up with 10 signatures, you email back to the campaign, you say, hey, I have sheets that are filled out, then we will collect them and we will take them to the local county office. They will verify them.
Okay.
Then they turn them back to the campaign, and then the campaign will send them, if there's more than one county, send it to the other county. Then we collect all of these sheets again once they've been verified, and then we take them to the Secretary of State's office and we say, hey, here's, again, over 37,000. It's going to be boxes of these signatures from people all around the state who believe that it's important that we have independent oversight of our election. But the thing is, if you're signing this, you're not saying you're going to vote for Greg Ballard.
That's important.
You're just saying, I think that people should have the option. I think that our democracy is better when there are more choices on the ballot. And I have yet to meet anybody who believes otherwise. Now, I haven't talked to Diego Morales. He might think differently about that. But this is just saying, I want a good candidate, a good man like Greg Ballard to be an option for people on the state, around the state this November.
Can I sign that?
Absolutely.
Oh, perfect. How
Let's
exciting.
get your signature right here.
I'm going to ask you, I'm going to let you filibuster while I fill this out.
Yeah.
How are you going to do this? Because that's a lot of signatures, and you're a great guy, but you're not getting those on your own. And look, even if you got a handful of volunteers, how are you going to get those? Because you only have 3 months, right?
We have around 3 months to do it. So we already have volunteers that are collecting signatures. They're fanning out around the state. And if you want to help with that, go to, again, gregballard.com/signatures, and you can get the form. You'll download the PDF and then print it off, remember, front and back. Also, you can reach out to the campaign. We can try to get you the sheets if you don't have a printer or access to one. It's going to be a combination of volunteers and also using a signature firm. This is very standard in this world because you just can't collect that many signatures with just volunteers. It's really, really difficult to do, but we have one of the best firms in the country that we're working with, and they're incredibly excited about supporting Mayor Ballard getting on the ballot.
Okay, a couple questions left. Nathan Gotsch from the Ballard campaign is with us. Hopefully we can get Greg on sometime soon.
Yeah, I'm having a great time, and I will tell him that I had a great time and really encourage him to come and talk to you.
Okay, so he's running, I would assume, to be more than just a protest candidate. Like, if I were running, I would run just to burn the whole thing down. And it's like
Rob, that shocks me that you would ever want to burn anything down.
Like, there ain't going to be no rematch. Don't want one. I may not walk out, but you're not walking out either. I assume he's running to actually try and win. What is the path to actual victory for him?
I mean, look, you're 100% right. Greg Ballard has been underestimated before.
Right.
And when he ran for mayor in 2007, he told me the other day, he goes, look, we had much less of a campaign operation when we launched then. Nobody was paying attention. Nobody cared. This is very different. And he's a guy who has proven people wrong in the past. I also think because of the uniqueness of this race, we're not going to know who the Republican or Democratic nominee is until the middle of June. Those are contested conventions, as your audience, I'm sure, is aware of. And so we don't know who else is going to be on the ballot. But I think...
Are you guys hoping for Diego? Yeah, right.
You know, I think that the Republican Party should decide who their nominee is, and I wish them the best in choosing that. The same thing with the Democratic Party. The important thing is, again, people don't realize the Secretary of State's office, I mean, I think you can argue it's the second most important statewide office in Indiana.
I agree.
And because it oversees elections, it is very important that we have someone in there that we can trust, that is completely above board, and that we know is not going to be engaged in partisanship. And one of the challenges when you have a Republican or a Democrat in that office is they often use it as a stepping stone for their own political career. So they're going around.
Steve Bobai's dad. That's exactly how he became the governor.
So they're going around and they endorse candidates in races. They raise money for them, but these are the same races that they oversee. Yeah. And think about if you're running against someone who the Secretary of State just did a fundraiser for. And it's like, oh, that's the person who's telling me that the election that I'm participating in is going to be free and fair. That's just ridiculous. And Mayor Ballard's the only candidate running who has made a commitment that he will not endorse, he will not campaign for, he will not donate or raise money for any candidate whose election his office oversees. And I think that's the most important thing. We have to have 100% trust that we have someone in that office who's going to safeguard the integrity of our elections.
Okay, before we let you go, you guys polled on Diego. But
Independent Indiana did poll on Diego back in October. I wouldn't feel good about it if I was his team.
I mean, it was like nobody knew who he was, despite him running a 24/7 campaign operation out of his office.
I believe he had 5% favorability, and over 50% of the state did not know who he was.
So why do the Republicans tolerate him? This is the question we ask on this show, the old show. I don't get it. Like, you've got banks endorsing him, all these people behind him. Why? His pain in the ass level is so high. What does he bring them that they're willing to deal with this?
You know, I would not want to speculate on that, but what I can talk about is, I think, what we see who are outside the parties in terms of how they're making their decisions about who they're nominating. And I think the better quality candidates that the two parties nominate, the less opportunity there is for someone who's outside the two parties. And since our polling shows that there is a huge appetite for that, I think the voters of Indiana are the ones saying, we don't like this. We don't like where this is going. And the ultimate arbiter in this should be the people of Indiana. And what's so exciting about Mayor Ballard on the ballot is that means that this race this year is going to give people a real choice. It's going to be competitive, and that creates more accountability for the candidates and for the parties, and more accountability leads to better government, which benefits everyone.
So we are going to invite all the candidates on. We're not endorsing or supporting anyone. However, I do endorse and support people signing that petition, because the more people who run, the better.
If you really endorse it, I'll give you a sheet and you can ask your friends to sign.
I don't think you want me anywhere near your campaign, buddy.
No. This is just you helping get people.
I'm not helping anyone anymore.
Okay.
Our governor and lieutenant governor did that in for me, so you can blame them.
Fair enough.
All right. The website, though, because I do think it's important that people know what's going on with this.
Yes.
So where can people learn about
Go
it?
to gregballard.com. If you go to gregballard.com/signatures, it'll take you right to information about the petition forms. He's also on all the social media networks. It's Greg for Indiana. That's the handle. So if you want to follow him there, that's where people can do that.
Nathan Gotch, thank you.
Thanks so much for having me, Rob.
You're watching Rob Kendall Show.
Your bathroom fan could be secretly costing you thousands of dollars in damages. Most people don't even know this until the damage is done. With over 18 years of bathroom remodeling experience, here are 3 signs your fan is failing you without spending a dime on inspections. Sign number 1 is if you have foggy mirrors after you shower. This shows that your fan isn't pulling out enough moisture, which creates the perfect environment for mold. If you have a properly functioning bathroom fan that is the right size for your space, you shouldn't see much fogginess on your bathroom mirror at all. Sign number 2 is if you have bubbling, cracking, or peeling paint in your bathroom. This means moisture is soaking into your walls, slowly breaking down drywall, and even causing the wood framing behind it to rot. Sign number 3 is if you have mold buildup on your fan, ceilings, or walls. This is terrible for your health, but also could wreck your bathroom, costing you a fortune. If you're noticing any of these signs, here's what you can do.
Call Vent Savvy today at 317-300-4434. That's 317-300-4434. And mention Rob for a free attic inspection.
Are you a Clay County resident who is ready to be part of creating a brighter future for our citizens? Doug Cobb is running for county commissioner and will bring fresh perspective to the table. A local farm and business owner, he has skin in the game of our county's success. He knows that a great team can accomplish so much more than any one of us alone and is ready to create a brighter future for Clay County together. The committee to elect Doug Cobb approves this ad. Paid for by Linda Cheatham.
Bramwell Mackay assists managers of multifamily and commercial real estate properties with exterior and structural condition assessment and end-to-end building wellness. Your consulting partners for water intrusion inspection and remediation, Bramwell Mackay handles historic restoration and repair, as well as modern repair needs. In Indianapolis, call 812-33-BRICK. That's 812-33-BRICK. 812-33-BRICK.
Hey guys, welcome back. Rob Kendall Show. Don't forget, follow the website, robkendallshow.com. Live broadcasts, podcasts, and transcripts of some of our favorite segments each day. Also over on Twitter, at Rob M. Kendall, at Rob M. Kendall. So let's talk about what a complete dumpster fire the new president at Ivy Tech is. This is unbelievable. Story reporting coming from our friends at the Indianapolis Star. Alexandria Burris is the reporter. This is absolutely incredible. What a disastrous position the president at Ivy Tech left his previous school system in. So the president at Ivy Tech is a guy named Marty Polio. And it's been about a year, in fact, that he was named the new president at Ivy Tech. And now it has come to light that he left his previous school system in Kentucky with $188 million budget deficit. $188 million budget deficit. This has come to light after an audit commissioned by the Jefferson County Public School System, so that's Louisville, where Polio was the superintendent for 8 years, found, according to Indy Star, that a culture of excessive spending, poor money management practices, and the consolidation of power over financial matters contributed to the budget deficit. So basically, pretty much anything this guy was in charge of, total dumpster fire. Quote, now this comes from Corey Shull. She is the Jefferson County Board of Public Education chair. She told the Star, management had not been honest about the financial positioning of the district. When asked how he defined management, Shull pointedly said, the superintendent. $188 million that was essentially mismanaged and hidden from the school district. And this appears to be another example, one, of how horrible the public education system, not just here in Indiana, but in this case in Kentucky, is of managing money, is of managing resources. I've long said no matter how much money you give the public education system, it will never be enough. You could tax every person in the state 100% of their earnings and give it to the public education system, and they would still be telling you it's not enough. And two, it appears this guy's dishonesty and deceit was rewarded by naming him the president at Ivy Tech. Now, Starr reached out to Ivy Tech. They would not make polio available for an interview. And I love this. His excuse to the Star, or their excuse to the Star, about why he wouldn't do an interview was, well, he's not with that school corporation anymore. Yeah, but you did a horrible job. You appear to have been very dishonest and deceitful. You're leaving these people with a massive budget shortfall. We'd like to know why and why that's not going to happen at Ivy Tech. And their response is, well, he doesn't work there anymore. The only reason this came forward, the only reason, and by the way, this is a total indictment of the board there in Jefferson County because they're supposed to be overwatching the finances. They're supposed to be the ones doing the deep dive. It's what I've long said about these boards, whether they're township boards or in many cases like town councils. These people are completely worthless, not as human beings, but in terms of actually being able to, one, understand the finances and then two, hold people accountable. I'm not trying to indict anybody if you're one of these people, but we see this time and time again where these township trustees have been siphoning off millions of dollars in some cases for illicit uses. It's like, how did the board not catch this? We've seen these trustees end up going to prison because of this. Same thing goes on with a lot of these town boards. You have well-meaning people who just don't have the ability to provide proper oversight, have the ability to understand the finances, hold these people accountable. So in this case, it took a whistleblower to tell the board, hey, this guy's been pulling a bunch of shenanigans. So according to the Star, Polio had informed the board a month before he left that the district was facing a budget shortfall, but it was only $40 million, and he tried to tell them it could be saved by not filling vacant positions. Let me read you one of the most important parts of the article. The report was produced by a consulting firm, Plant Moran. The audit attributed the deficit in large part to a confluence of federal COVID dollars ending and expenditures for which there was no sustaining funding mechanism. I'm going to read this to you again because this is very important, because this is exactly what Eric Holcomb did in Indiana during COVID. The audit attributed the deficit in large part to a confluence of federal COVID dollars ending and expenditures for which there was no sustained funding mechanism. Does this sound familiar? It should. It's exactly how we had a $500 million budget shortfall for Medicaid in the state of Indiana. Medicaid has been one of the major issues the past two legislative sessions. Lawmakers making all sorts of changes, all sorts of cuts, all sorts of kicking people off, ways people get change in reimbursement rates and mechanisms. Why? Because during COVID, Holcomb, just like other governors across the state, just like the federal government, wanted you to believe they could shut down society, that they could cost you your job, that they could close your business, and that, oh, just do what we say, just hunker down. It'll be fine. Sweet daddy government will take care of you. So what did Indiana do? They threw all these people on the Medicaid rolls because they were getting huge reimbursement rates for the federal government, knowing that eventually that money would run out. Well, they threw all these able-bodied people onto Medicaid. Once you give somebody a benefit, they're not going to just freely give it up. And so now you had all of these people who should have been out working, who should have been out contributing, that were getting subsidized government health insurance. No fault of their own. They're totally following the rules. The fault is of the government. And then the government ran out of money because they had participated in this legalized vote buying scam that they knew was going to end. And now people are outraged. Well, what about my freebie? What about my benefit? And instead of going after the majority of people who should be off, they targeted parents that they were paying to stay at home and take care of their severely disabled kid or aging loved one. So, wasn't just happening here in Indiana. Also how the new president of Ivy Tech got his previous school system in a massive financial jam. Because of polio's mismanagement, and I think some people would say dishonesty and deceit, they're going to have to close 2 elementary schools, or they did, I guess, close 2 elementary schools at his previous school district, which collectively serve 600 students. Oh, no, I'm sorry. They're going to close at the end of this school year. I'm sorry. They have not closed them yet. They're going to close them at the end of the school year. They're also going to have to cut 390 jobs, according to the Courier-Journal, who also has covered this issue. Now, here's the best part of the whole article. This takes the cake. I'm going to read it to you so that people don't accuse me of misstating or exaggerating. This is it's totally believable. I mean, I say it's unbelievable, but it's totally believable. Quote, this is from the Indy Star. So far, polio's financial management practices at his old job appear to have received little attention from Ivy Tech's board members. Most did not return messages from Indy Star. One of them, former Indiana Republican Party Chairman Kyle Hupfer, said he didn't know much about the controversy. You're a board member for a college institution. Your new president, well, new, he'd been there a year, has gotten caught by multiple media outlets and by the board on the school district he previously served, being a complete dumpster fire, causing huge financial crisis in the district. And Kyle Hupfer, former chairman of the Indiana Republican Party, I believe he was the treasurer for Holcomb's campaign, Holcomb's best buddy and amigo, says, I don't really know much about that. Gee, hard to believe Indiana was so poorly managed financially under Eric Holcomb. Gee, hard to believe things went south, because what's Holcomb's right-hand guy? What's the former leader of the Republican Party under Holcomb doing now? He's leading Ivy Tech. And who'd he hire? A guy that left his previous school district with a $188 million budget shortfall. The same, have you noticed the trend? It's the same people and the same crap and the same people that they support and prop up wherever they go. By the way, don't forget, Kyle Hupfer, he's the same guy that was owner in he bought into 30 plus liquor stores. And remember during COVID, who got to stay open? The liquor stores. That's who runs our state. That's the policies that run our state. And this is the guy that Kyle Hupfer is in charge of over at Ivy Tech. Seems like the same guy that he was adult supervision for running the state of Indiana. Okay, wanted to touch on this. Article came out yesterday, Indiana Capitol Chronicle, with the story. Mike Braun is a complete chicken. Mike Braun is a total gutless coward. Mike Braun has allowed the needle exchange law in Indiana to continue without signing the bill into law. This is the most gutless thing that our governors do, and they should be ashamed of themselves, and everyone should be ashamed of them. Now, this is not a conversation about whether or not the needle exchange is a viable program. This is about Mike Braun allowing something to continue without taking a position on it. So here's how a bill works in the state of Indiana. After the General Assembly approves a bill, the governor has 7 days to sign or veto the legislation. If the governor does nothing, after 7 days, the bill becomes law. But the governor can walk around saying, I didn't sign that bill. Total chicken crap behavior from Mike Braun. And Braun did this because this bill is super controversial, and there's people on both sides of the aisle who he wants to like him who had very differing positions. Let me read you Braun's quote, by the way, on this, about the needle exchange program, which he refused to veto, by the way. Does this sound like a guy who's proud of the bill? I think that's treating a symptom, Braun said, according to the Capitol Chronicle. We need to get at the underlying issue of what it was done for in the first place, to where you don't use that as a crutch going forward. Does that sound like a guy who's proud of legislation? Does that sound like a guy who's excited about the bill that he allowed to become law? Let's go back in time and tell you what we're talking about here. This goes back to 2015. In 2015, when Mike Pence was governor, there was a massive outbreak of HIV in Scott County. About 200 people were infected with HIV, and the General Assembly said we have to do something. And what they said is, we think the best way in the immediate interim to stop the spread of HIV is to create this safe needle exchange program in which if you're a drug user, you come to us, you give us your dirty needle, we'll dispose of it, we'll give you clean needles so people aren't sharing infected needles. And look, to the credit, I guess for lack of a better term, of the lawmakers at the time that did, not completely, but did largely curb back the outbreak of HIV in Scott County. The detractors say, and I believe the Attorney General Curtis Hill was one of those at the time, by allowing people to have clean needles, by handing them the needle, you are handing them an essential free pass to continue their drug use. The counterpoint to that was these people are going to use drugs regardless. At least with this, we're stopping the spread of HIV and other dangerous diseases. Now, this bill that Braun allowed to become a law, because this bill was up for renewal, essentially up for renewal, and the bill Braun allowed to become law, Senate enrolled Act 91, allowed 6 counties to continue the programs providing sterile syringes and safe disposal of the needles people use to inject drugs. Now, sites cannot, so these are actual government, essentially government-operated or approved sites where people can go to do this. The sites cannot operate within 1,000 feet of schools, child care centers, or houses of worship without written consent. The needles must also now be one needle exchanged for one needle received. There used to be an ability to get more needles than you were turning in, and the renewal now is for 5 years instead of the 10 years that was sought. Again, there are viable arguments on both sides of this issue. I tend to think that the people who have said that drug use is a much bigger issue than just a needle exchange program have a case to be made that we have to attack drug use from a different perspective. I think they have a valid point. I also think you're living in a naive world if you think simply not giving someone a clean needle is going to make them stop using drugs. And if the goal is to try to help as many people as you can until you can get to those people to get them the help they need to get off of drugs, I think you're probably saving lives by having a needle exchange program. Look, clearly this is a massive problem in the state of Indiana. And my issue with this is not that Braun allowed the bill to become law. It's that Braun craves acceptance. The reason he won't fight, other than for Donald Trump on redistricting, is because he craves acceptance. Whatever room he's in, he'll tell people what they want to hear. See how right about this time a year ago, we had 1,000 people in the State House, and Braun was the keynote speaker, rolling up his sleeves as the crowd was screaming, fight, fight, fight on property taxes. Why? Why did he do that? Because he craved acceptance. Because the crowd was behind him. Because he got caught up in the moment and didn't. I think Braun went to our property tax rally that day thinking like 10 people were going to show up. And then he got there and he was like, oh, dang, there's a lot of people here. And they are supporting me. Okay, what do you guys want to hear? And then he got in a room with the General Assembly, with Jeff Thompson, with Rod Bray, with Todd Houston, and he was told how it was going to be, and he didn't have the testicular fortitude to remember, hey, just a week ago, I was in front of 1,000 people saying I was going to fight for them. Braun craves acceptance. So whatever room he's in, he's going to go along with what he needs to be accepted, and in this case, to be accepted by the General Assembly, it was to sign the horrible property tax bill. In the case of this needle exchange program, he has people on both sides that he's scared to piss off. So instead of taking a stand and picking a side, which there's valid arguments on both sides, and you could probably claim victory on both sides of this argument, he just goes, well, I'll try to make everyone happy. I'll allow it to become law, but I won't sign the bill. Mike Braun is a weak leader. he's really a pathetic leader. And the reason we keep getting bad legislation that gets signed into law and bad legislation that comes from our General Assembly is they know Braun doesn't have the stones to push back, and Braun doesn't have the stones to take a position, and Braun doesn't have the stones to do what he thinks is right if he's afraid of making somebody influential angry. All right, let's talk about our friends at Bramwell Mackay. Masonry additions and staining, masonry color mismatch, previous repair catching your eye, not happy with the brick color on your home, or ready for a total makeover? Bramwell Mackay Property Services and Consultants offer specialized masonry staining and recoloring. Whether you want to seamlessly blend repairs or completely transform your home's exterior, want to build something new? Bramwell Mackay's 40-year master masons design and construct custom patios, sidewalks, outdoor summer kitchens, archways, entryways, and more. Bramwell Mackay, beauty built to endure. Find them on the web, bramwellmackay.com. Now, let me ask you guys to do something for me today if you can. I know whether it's Vent Savvy, Bramwell Mackay, we got other sponsors that are coming on. You're not always going to need these sponsors in the moment. But you can do us a giant favor by letting them know you heard their message on our show. And let them know, hey, I'm going to use you guys in the future when I need these things. I heard from both of our sponsors yesterday about that, about how much that meant to them. Some people are using the service, which is great. But they also said, man, it was awesome to hear from people who care enough about your program that they called us or messaged us on our website, even if they didn't need the service. That goes a long way to help us let these sponsors know they're hearing the message. So today, if you can, if you get a moment, visit these two websites. They've got contact forms there. Just let people know, these two fine sponsors, you heard the message. Bramwell Mackay's website, BRAMWELLMCKAY.com. BRAMWELLMCKAY.com. And Vent Savvy, VENTSAVVY.com. VENTSAVVY.com. That helps us out a lot. Thank you guys for doing that. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, producer Jason has the best YouTube comments of the day to read, new poll numbers on Trump that are very interesting, and a Democrat is proposing a massive tax cut. We'll talk about it all next. You're watching Rob Kendall Show.
Bramwell Mackay assists managers of multifamily and commercial real estate properties with exterior and structural condition assessment and end-to-end building wellness. Your consulting partners for water intrusion inspection and remediation, Bramwell Mackay handles historic restoration and repair, as well as modern repair needs. In Indianapolis, call 812-33-BRICK. That's 812-33-BRICK. 812-33-BRICK.
Hey guys, it's Rob Kendall. Thanks so much for checking out the Rob Kendall Show. And remember, please like, share, and subscribe, and tell your friends about us. If you own a business or you're in charge of making decisions for your business, we'd love to get to know you. We'd love to learn more about what you do and how here at the Rob Kendall Show, we can help you get your word out to a very loyal group of people. Because, you know, that's what we have with viewers on the Rob Kendall Show, a really loyal group of people. Send us an email, sales@robkendallshow.com. Sales@robkendallshow.com. And I look forward to getting back in touch with you to learn more about your business and how the Rob Kendall Show can help you grow.
Are you a Clay County resident who is ready to be part of creating a brighter future for our citizens? Doug Cobb is running for county commissioner and will bring fresh perspective to the table. A local farm and business owner, he has skin in the game of our county's success. He knows that a great team can accomplish so much more than any one of us alone and is ready to create a brighter future for Clay County together. The committee to elect Doug Cobb approves this ad. Paid for by Linda Cheatham.
Guys, welcome back. Rob Kendall Show. Find us at robkendallshow.com. If you head over there, we do have that support button up. If you want to say, hey, here's a few shekels, we love watching the show, we're not turning it down. It's a great way to support the show. We're not begging you for money, but a bunch of you reached out. We said it'd be easier just to put that button up there. You can find it at robkendallshow.com. We appreciate all you guys over the past several days who have reached out, said, hey, here's $10. Buy yourself some Wendy's or something. Certainly appreciate it. robkendallshow.com. Click the support button. You can support the show. Speaking of supporting the show, one way you guys do that is your fabulous commentary all throughout the day over on YouTube. You do have to be a subscriber in order to watch not watch the feed, but comment on the feed. And producer Jason does his outstanding job each day of monitoring the best comments. And he joins us now to read some of those. Jason, hello.
How we doing, Rob?
Oh, people love you.
Oh, well, that's what my mom says.
Well, my mom said that yesterday, too. She's like, I really like Jason.
Really?
Like, I think you've met Jason.
I didn't come off cocky yesterday?
I was like, you've met Jason numerous times before. And then she remembered she had met you several times before.
All right.
Yes, but all the moms love you.
Yeah. There we go. I have no idea how to respond to that. So let's get to the chat, shall we? I came a little more prepared today.
Well, we waited a little because look, Jason's doing 9 things at all times during the show, and so I wanted to give him time to
Number
be able
10 right here.
Yes, screenshot and find some of the best chats throughout the day. The floor is yours.
All right, so we back up to early in the show. Let's see, what were we talking about? The toll on Interstate 70.
So for those who missed the early part of the program, you go back and listen to it. Braun has now petitioned the federal government to get approval for $6.5 billion in tolling all across I-70, 10 cents a mile if you're in a car or an SUV, over 54 cents a mile if you're in a semi-trailer.
A lot of money, a lot of money. Let's see, C Mills 890 downtown will be down to 1 lane in each direction because of the bus line. Now you have no choice but to pay the toll and stay on 70 coming through Indianapolis. He makes a very good point.
That is actually a very, very good point. Yeah, isn't it amazing? And look, you're an Indianapolis lifer. Isn't it amazing how they've destroyed downtown?
Oh, it is incredible. I mean, you go all the way back to the idiots that put 65 and 70 through downtown like they did. Like they couldn't have, it makes no sense the way they did that. And they just keep trying to put the Band-Aid on it.
And there's no way the red, the blue, the red, the purple, now we're at the blue line. Like
you're talking about the maps, the traffic maps
the
that are always
line.
red.
Yeah, that run like through. I mean, Indianapolis used to be so easy to drive. Like it used to be so easy to get in and out of. It would be the great allure. One of the great allures of going to downtown was, hey, you can get in there 30. I can get in and out 30 minutes, right? Even during rush hour was fine. Yeah, that guy's right. It's a complete dumpster fire.
I don't think they anticipated 10, 20 million people coming into the country driving cars in this day and age. Don B, 260Z. Trouble with US 40 is they already have started the road diet, which I assume he means the construction.
Yeah.
So they're going to start construction on 40, putting it down to 1 lane, making the semis go to 70.
Well, because you think about, like, if you're going to Terre Haute, which if you're going west, that's your obvious in-state destination.
Right.
If you leave Indianapolis, your next
Who wants to go to Terre Haute?
Well,
sorry.
You think about, let's say that's 60 miles, right, from downtown to Terre Haute. I don't know if exactly.
It's about
miles.
that, sure.
Okay,
give or take.
So at 10 cents a mile, that's that's $6 both ways, each way,
right?
$12 total each time you do that. If you're on 70. Why wouldn't you just take 40? It's free.
Well, if you're a traveler and you're going from Ohio through Indiana, again, you've got about 120 miles of road there, so that is quite the tax.
Absolutely. And so now they're going to just damage 40, and then we'll have to pay to fix that, and then they'll probably toll 40.
And let's not act like they're not going to hit 65, 74, that sort of thing. But Nicholas Wilson, I-40 is going to be destroyed now. Absolutely. Trash Man. What about his? Okay, now we're talking about who are we talking about here? What about his relentless ads on the radio playing multiple times a day?
Oh, it's probably Jim Baird. We were talking about that Frank mail that I got, that taxpayer-funded propaganda piece from U.S. Representative Jim Baird. Yeah, I mean, the use of taxpayer money by these politicians. I mean, it's campaigning. Mm-hmm. Like, that's all that ad he sent me is. It's campaigning, and he's able to use taxpayer money to do it. It's outrageous.
Theller09 points out, good point here, 10 cents a gallon equals 0.3 cents per mile. And when you're driving like
Yeah.
I used to have an old van and it would get like 12 miles a gallon, right? Every 12 miles, I'd be thinking, well, I just ate up $3 or $4 right there. So yeah, that when you've got the old car.
Remember when the van broke down in another state?
Which time would that have been? North Carolina.
Yeah, where
right,
the guy, what, he wouldn't take a credit card, right?
Right, the guy wouldn't take a credit card.
And so I had to figure out how to get money.
Right.
Basically.
Because Rob pays my bills.
This is when we owned our radio station. Jason, for some reason, I have no idea why, but you chose to drive that van across the country all the time.
It was the fantastic time, too.
This van was like straight out of
Get tired,
Central
just go to sleep. Yeah.
Like, do not get in type
Call it
of
the ghetto van.
And the van broke down and the guy wouldn't take a credit card. That was a fun experience. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay, and we got a lot more here. The old man, 68. Now the county and local government offices are increasing the wheel tax to fatten their coffers. The cost of my license plates have doubled because of this increase, and they do tend to continue to climb.
So in the new road funding bill that passed last year, in addition to giving up any authority over tolling, the legislature also gave these local governments ability to raise the wheel tax higher than it had been, or new governments' ability to raise wheel tax. And many governments, as that person pointed out, local governments, wasted no time.
Matthew Jacobson points out, I wonder if Mike Braun is paying any of that fuel or any of that in fuel for his helicopter.
Yeah, don't forget the taxpayer.
He doesn't have to drive 70
for Braun at his house. Yeah,
right.
Don't forget that.
Nicholas Kurtz points out Braun should have to take the bus lane when he goes to downtown Indianapolis. There we go. Good point. Nicholas Kurtz also okay, that was we already did that one. Okay. David Harrison, has Rob finally admitted he's a Democrat now, or did I miss that part?
So can we talk about this for a second?
Sure.
Because I still get this all the time. When I'm critical of the Republicans, people then go, well, why don't you just admit you're a Democrat?
Mm-hmm.
As though it's like a binary choice. You have to be a Democrat or Republican.
Or maybe one of those libertarian people.
You can't possibly point out things Republicans are doing. Like, are you in favor of 6.5? My question to that person would be, are you in favor of $6.5 billion in new taxes to drive on 70? If the answer is no, who do you blame but the Republicans?
Mm-hmm.
They passed the bill. Are you in favor of one of the highest gas taxes in the nation? If the answer is no, who do you blame but the Republicans? They passed the bill.
Well, the argument could always be made, but it would be worse.
Would it?
I don't know. I'm just saying I'm just trying to help.
You're trying to help a brother out, right?
Bit, yeah.
I've never understood the rationale that if I'm critical of the Republicans for stuff that we should all be critical for, when the Republicans are in charge of everything, like we're super critical of Indianapolis, the Democrats run that. Nobody ever goes, is Rob finally willing to admit he's a Republican? When I'm critical of the Democrats or the things they run. But for some reason, if I'm critical of the Republicans, I have to be a Democrat.
There we go. That's good logic. Let's see. The old man, 68, back again. My son manages a large truck stop station in southern Indiana and told me that they were going to raise their diesel prices to $5.19 this morning. I'm not sure. How does that equate? What is a normal diesel?
Well, it was 3 something. We did that article yesterday. I have to go back and check what it was, but I mean, there's been a skyrocketing of diesel, basically $1. I thought it was, and that was to 4.5. So that'd almost be $2 increase from where.
So
it
how
was.
long before we hear that all the groceries are going to go back up a little bit, because they're not going to eat that for very long?
Well,
I mean, we know how generous Mike Braun is, and I'm sure his trucking company would eat those costs for
absolutely.
us. But he can only take so much of a hit.
Absolutely. And one of the things nobody wants to talk about with Braun, because I don't think they know, is the amount of land he owns. Braun.
Oh, yeah?
I asked Braun one time when we were getting along, when he was lying to me about fighting on property taxes. I asked him one time about
gullible Rob
about making money and how you do it, and he told me about all the land that he owns. So that's something people should look into at some point.
In Du Bois County?
I think that's his home, right?
That is. That mean he has to own all the land there.
And I think it was timber. I think timber is where he's made a whole bunch of his money.
There we go. So is his trucks, are they log trucks then, or
I don't know.
Okay, well, we're getting too far into the weeds there. The last comment, and there's over a couple hundred comments here, so it's hard to say this is the best comment, or these are, I mean, just great comments. Fantastic. Everybody love reading these. The last one we're going to point out today from Theller09. Excellent explanation of the current situation, Nathan. Thank you.
Oh, Nathan Gotsch, who explained how Ballard's going to get those signatures and get on the ballot. And, yeah, I thought that was a fascinating interview, kind of giving the behind the scenes on how Ballard decided to run, why he decided to run. I think I can go ahead and let it out of the bag. Ballard's supposed to be with us for Thursday's show, so we'll be able to ask him stuff directly. All right. New poll out. Thank you, Jason, by the way.
Very much, yeah.
Fabulous job.
See ya.
Always great to see you, as though you're leaving the room. New article out from The Hill about a poll from NBC about President Trump, and it really matches what we saw last week in the Fox News poll. So 2 polls, different organizations, different political leanings, sort of saying the same thing. And we talk about a lot about how polling is a snapshot of a moment in time. You can't really take too much into one poll, but if you see a string of polls that are telling you the same thing from different organizations, you're probably getting a good idea of whatever the thing you're polling on, what the actual result is. And so this poll from NBC, and it's actually a year-over-year poll, too, which gives you an idea of how to kind of gauge how a person's done year-over-year. Trump, according to NBC News, is down 3 points since March of 2025 among registered voters, according to this new poll that came out. In the NBC News poll, 44% of respondents said they either strongly or somewhat backed Trump's job performance, down from 47% in March of 2025. 54% of poll respondents said they were strongly or somewhat not in favor of his job performance, up 51% from last year. And again, that number of 44% approve and 54% disapprove largely matches what we saw from the Fox News poll that we talked about last week in terms of Trump's job performance. Overall, and this is very close, the Decision Desk HQ, which sort of takes the polling averages, all the polls puts them together, has Trump at 43.1% approve and 54.4% disapprove. So this NBC poll is pretty much right on with this large collective of polling. What's interesting is, and this totally lines up with the Fox News poll, 53% of respondents backed the job Trump is doing with border security. 44% back his work on immigration, and 41% support his efforts when it comes to Iran. That also mirrors other polling. So clearly, the thing Trump is strongest on in numerous polls, which tells you that's probably what it is securing the border. Stopping the flow of legal immigration into the country. He has a majority of Americans supporting him on that. Where he struggles, and this is what I don't understand, is he struggles on actual immigration, the actual enforcement of getting people illegally into the country, out of the country. And this is where I feel like sometimes the American people, they don't even know what they really want. Because isn't the purpose of border security to stop people from illegally coming into the country so we know who's coming into our country, who we want people who are here to be citizens of our country? And if you support that, wouldn't it make sense that you support getting people illegally in the country out of the country? And if you support getting people illegally in the country out of the country, how would you propose they do that other than what Trump is doing, which is sending ICE into these major metropolitan cities to get these people out? I think sometimes we have the American people have this great desire to have their cake and eat it too. Well, I want people to not be able to legally enter the country. I want people who are legally in the country out of the country, but I want it done in a different way. Well, what I would love to ask those people, what way would that be? Just to ask everybody, please deport yourself. Please get out of the country. Please don't come back. I just don't think people fully know what they want, and I think it's easier just to default to, well, you're doing a bad job on that. But in all of this, what you lose sight of is the reason Trump is underwater the way he is, especially when you realize he is doing very well on the border, it's the economy. It's affordability. And I feel like Trump is falling into some of the same traps that Biden did. Now, Biden didn't know what trap he was falling into because he didn't know what day it was. But Trump is falling into some of the same traps Biden did, which is using the stock market as some sort of judge of how the economy's doing. What did we see under Biden? all the time when you'd hear about affordability, about cost of living, about price increases. Yeah, but look at the stock market. The economy's great. Yeah, money goes into the stock market when the dollar doesn't matter and people can't make money by, sort of long-term stable investments, CDs, bonds, things of that nature. They put in the stock market because you got to outpace inflation. And the only way to be able to do that was the stock market. And I think Trump has done the same thing where he's like, oh, the stock market, it's so hot. It's so great. Yeah, that only matters when you pull your money out. Your day-to-day life, most people aren't feeling the positive effects. They see their buying power shrinking. It's still very hard to be able to purchase a home. It's still very, very hard to be able to upgrade your quality of living. And so I think when you have failed to deliver on that, you're going to see pushback. You're going to see a recoil from the people of the country in terms of the overall job approval rating. Okay, one public service announcement, and then we'll get to the tax cut proposed by a Democrat, which is very interesting. More speed traps are coming to Indiana. This comes from our friends at Fox 59. 2 new speed zones are soon to be going into effect across our state. One on I-70. Boy, they're really going to get that money at I-70 one way or another, aren't they? Whether it's $6.5 billion in new taxes or these speed zones, and one on I-65. And these are part of the safety zones. So the safety zones that have been put in place, these speed traps, they call them safety zones, I call them speed traps, in which they have picked select areas where construction is taking place or supposed to be taking place. And they have put these cameras up, and they alert you, to their credit. They tell you, okay, you're entering this zone. It's usually a white sign with a neon stripe on the top of it, and it tells you you're going to be on camera. And we are keeping track of your speed. Here's the posted speed limit. If you go 11 miles an hour over the posted speed limit, you're in violation of the enforcement. You're triggering the enforcement mechanism, and you're going to be punished. Now, the first time is a warning. The second time is a $75 fine. And then the third time and all violations after are a $150 fine. Starting on March 23, there's going to be, let's see here, I-70 near Greenfield from marker 104 to marker 109. So it's a 5-mile stretch. And then starting on March 23rd in southwest Indiana, down near in Jasper County, 9-mile stretch on I-65 near Rensselaer. So 2 new stretches, if you're on the highways and byways, to be alerted from. 70 near Greenfield and on 65 south near Jasper County. So if you travel those, just realize coming up here, what is today? Today's the 10th. 2 weeks from now, you're going to start having those speed zones, those camera zones. Now, my issue, here is my only issue with this, because I want our construction workers to be safe. I want them to feel secure. I want them to feel like they're able to do their jobs. I realize that some people don't drive in a manner that allows that to happen sometimes. I'm not disputing that. My only issue with the speed zones is like the one on 65 on the 465 on the north side near the Carmel area. I feel like I'm so paranoid. Like I'm such a horrible just religious rule follower that I feel like I start going slow and I'm actually putting other people in danger because they're blowing past me because I'm trying to go the actual speed limit because I'm so paranoid about, well, what if my odometer's off by 2? What if I'm at 8 or what if it says I'm at 8 and I'm actually at 11? Like I'm not saying that's the best way to view it, but I get so paranoid about it, and I see other people do this too, that I feel like I start actually putting other people in danger where no one else is driving the speed limit, and I'm trying to drive the speed limit. That is my only complaint about all of that. I feel like it's sort of maybe it's paranoia, but I think then I start putting other people in danger by driving the speed limit. Maybe that's a horrible way to view it. Okay, final thing of the day I wanted to get to, Cory Booker. Do you guys know Cory Booker? He is a Democrat senator from New Jersey. He ran for president a couple of years ago. It didn't go well. He ran for president, right? All those people ran for president. I think Cory Booker was one of the people who ran for president. Didn't go well. Anyway, he has proposed, it's called Keep Your Pay Act. Now, this is interesting to me. A lot of times with Democrats, I think it's complete hogwash. This is actually interesting to me. he has proposed the Keep Your Pay Act, which would eliminate federal income taxes on the first $75,000 of income for most households and expand tax credits towards what they call, quote unquote, working families. Now, I don't have a problem with this because the Trump administration and the Republicans in Congress allowed, I think it's the first $25,000 for people in select fields, the no tax on tips, the no tax on overtime. If those people are getting freebies, why shouldn't I get a freebie? I actually don't have a problem with this. I think this is an okay proposal. Now, I'll get to my problem with it in just a second. The plan increases the standard deductions for $75,000 for married couples filing jointly. And then they give what they call proportional relief to single filers and heads of household. And according to him, this would reduce federal income tax on median American families by an estimated 85%. My only issue with this, there's no spending cuts proposed. They propose paying for it by raising taxes on the wealthiest Americans and on corporations. Now, when you raise a tax on a corporation, they pass it on to us. So if you're not cutting spending and the corporate tax increases are the way to pay for it, they will just pass it back on to us. Now, in terms of raising taxes on the wealthiest people in America, let's talk about the tax code for a second, shall we? Let's wrap up our show today by talking about the tax code. The tax code is completely rigged to favor rich people. Why? Because rich people have very high profile, highly paid accountants who find ways to get around the tax code. You can pass whatever law you want, and every law that gets passed, there's loopholes for rich people. Because rich people are the people who give to politicians. The politicians, Democrats or Republicans, are never actually going to punish the rich people in this country. They're not going to do it. That's who writes the checks to them. So for every law that gets passed about, quote unquote, soaking the rich, a proposal to soak the rich, the fine details will always have loopholes for the rich. The tax code punishes regular people. The tax code punishes the middle class. The tax code punishes people like you and me who are like, what, TurboTax people, or you have just like a basic accountant who's trying to keep you out of prison and doesn't have, 10,000 hours or a staff of people to look into your tax return. The tax code is completely rigged against regular people. I'm not actually opposed to a tax code that punishes the rich a little bit more if it included actual spending cuts. If it actually included spending reductions, if it included getting our spending under control, balancing our budget. If you told me, Rob Kendall, I will give to you a balanced budget, but you have to raise taxes on people earning over $1 million. In order to finally get our spending under control, in order to finally stop future generations from being forced to pay for things they don't have a vote in, which is gross. It's so gross. What our politicians do, forcing by future generations, I'm not even talking about like my kid. I'm talking about grandkids, great-grandkids, great. Like, they'll never pay this off. It's disgusting. Of course, they're killing us now with inflation by all the spending. But if somebody told me that we would balance the budget, we would cut spending to balance the budget, and in exchange for that, people making over $1 million a year have to pay higher taxes, I would probably accept that. Why? Because the rich have soaked the middle class. These tippy-top guys, these CEOs, these people have soaked us for years with all the loopholes, so they don't have to pay taxes where we do. But at the end of the day, if it's not paired with spending cuts, none of it matters anyway, and they're never going to cut spending, so it's not even a conversation we're ever going to have. But I did think that was interesting that a Democrat proposing $75,000 for $75,000 earned should be tax-free. All right, let's wrap up the show today. Where do we go from here? And we'll go back to where we started, which is Mike Braun's proposal to raise taxes by $6.5 billion on you to pay for, well, he claims it's to pay for I-70. I got a feeling it would end up paying for a lot more than I-70. See the fact that they just proposed taking money from the 65 toll road to pay for the Bears stadium. You've got to decide when enough is enough. And it's sort of kind of always have the same theme here as we wrap this up. This is all Republican stuff. To come back to the comment, is Rob ready to admit he's a Democrat? What would you like me to say about this that would make me a Republican? Good job? Way to go? Hey, so can middle-class people who are trying to get to work for $6.5 billion, or the people that are trying to move goods and services across our country for $6.5 billion. That's great. Go Republican? Is that what I'm supposed to say? Am I supposed to say that it's a good thing because our General Assembly totally wimped out and abdicated their authority to oversee this and approve this, to have to take a vote on it before we get taxed for $6.5 billion additional dollars? This is all the Republicans. It's the people that are in office right now. And if you vote for these people who have supported this, then you can't complain about it. These people keep doing this to you over and over and over again. And yet they keep getting reelected. And then people keep complaining about them doing the stuff that they've always been doing. The same people are calling the shots. The same people are in leadership. The same people keep making these choices, whether it's not holding Braun accountable or any of this, right? Like, look, I wanted to believe, deep down I knew what Braun was and I knew what he was probably going to be. But I wanted to believe we could force him into helping us on property taxes. I was wrong. I'm looking you in the eye right now. I'm looking in the camera, right? Or essentially looking you in the eye saying, I will never vote for Mike Braun again. I would never support him ever again. I would never tell anybody to vote for him ever again. We took a flyer on it. We took a shot. We tried to make the best of a bad situation. It didn't work. I think I've done everything I could going forward to try to hold him accountable. If you keep voting for the same people, you're going to keep getting the same results. And then you're going to keep bitching about it when the people are the problem. Primary challenges this year, unless your rep or your senator has proven some reason that they've done something for you, which what would that even be? What has the General Assembly done where you would go, oh, thank God so-and-so was there. Oh, wouldn't have been able to do it without this person or that person. Why would you not take a flyer and vote for somebody else? Why would you not give someone else an opportunity? Could it be any worse? This doesn't make you a Democrat. Beat them in a primary. And even if they make it out of their primary, what, would the Democrats have taxed you by $7.5 billion on 70? We have to start getting different people to make the choices because we keep putting the same people in and we keep getting the same results. All right. Thank you to you guys today. A couple of announcements before we go. If you haven't, please subscribe to the page. That really helps us. That really helps us grow, and it's one thing you can do to really help us. Please support our advertisers. Please support the people that Bramwell Mackay, Vince Savvy, we've got others that are coming on board. Let them know you heard this announcement. Let them know. Check out our website, robkendallshow.com. robkendallshow.com. If you're feeling especially generous, support the show. We got a support button there. You can help us out by doing that. I want to thank you all for joining us today. Thank you for those of you, whether you sat here for 1 minute or the entire show. We can't thank you enough. We're really appreciative of you helping us. And as always, I want to thank producer Jason for doing his usual outstanding job. We'll see you tomorrow. You've been watching Rob Kendall Show.